Today we shall be entering the courtroom once again, ladies and gentlemen. A man getting sentenced for the death of a former professor from Detroit. 76-year-old man, I believe, stabbed 26 times, then dragged to the basement and burned. Burned the body to try to get rid of the evidence. And that's the thing about this story. The man that you're about to witness gets sentenced today. He was found guilty on nothing but circumstantial evidence. No DNA, no fingerprints, all circumstantial evidence. And I'm going to place this evidence before you at the end of the video and let me hear y'all's input. I ain't gonna lie, when I first started reading, I was leaning a little bit towards Isom, the guy who's about to get sentenced today. And then I read on and there was something fishy going on for sure. But I'm gonna let y'all be the judge of this. If you're new to the channel though, we talk about all things lockup related. So if that's the kind of genre that you're into, welcome. You've made it to paradise. Now, before we move forward with the sentencing, we gotta watch this clip. Looks like we might possibly have enemies over here locked down to it. I don't know. It could be a friend or foe situation. I'm not sure, but y'all will understand after the clip.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. We'd like to take this time to thank the creator of the channel 23&1. This individual who made this channel is great. He actually featured us today, and in his feature, he did say something that was not true, so we need to address that rumor before it gets out into the world and creates problems. So here's what he said. He said that I refused to shake the hand of Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, and that is not true. I never met Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee, and if I would have shook their hand. Other than that, great show. Thank you for featuring us, and please feel free to come by and let me demonstrate the techniques for you. We assure you that every single technique we show in our training actually works in real life, 100%. And we look forward to meeting with you in the future.
I know those Detroit sneak moves. You trying to hit me with that damn blue keychain. Ain't happening today. Nah, but in all seriousness, man, I like this guy a lot more after watching this video. You know, I said some things about his techniques like they would never work, or at least if I were to do it, they would never work, right? And you know, most people nowadays are built like cotton balls, and they would have taken that shit personally. But still, he's a good sport. And I'm not gonna lie, if you were to ask me, his videos are probably more entertaining than mine. But I don't know, man. It's up to my audience. Audience, should I travel down to Detroit and practice some safety measures with Detroit Threat Management Group? You can count me in if I can hold one of them fake knives. Let me know in the comments section below, ladies and gentlemen. It's up to you if I'm going to Detroit or not. Anyways, let's move on to the video. Court sentencing, and I believe this guy's being sentenced, now that I'm thinking about it, in Michigan. I could be wrong. We will find out. But I think he's in Michigan, and this just fits everything together. He's from Detroit, which is in Michigan, and the sentencing's in Michigan. Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was right. Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Tennessee. And on or about November 30th, 2011, he was convicted of the felony offense of larceny in the 16th Circuit Court for the state of Florida.
Wait, what?
Your Honor, I don't believe Mr. Hamilton is disputing the fact that he has those prior felony convictions.
Prior felony convictions. I remember this part. It doesn't show it in video, but the prosecutor brought up some of his past offenses, and one of them being home invasion. Maybe not murder, but still, home invasion. It's his MO, right? That's what the prosecutor's trying to paint, and that just so happened to have been how this old man died. It was a home invasion, murder / robbery. If I remember correctly, you're not allowed to bring up past charges. I know for a jury trial, but this is a bench trial, so I'm not sure. But let's start it over. He's bringing up charges from other states, look like Tennessee and Florida.
County, state of Tennessee. And on or about November 30th, 2011, he was convicted of the felony offense of larceny in the 16th Circuit Court for the state of Florida.
Your Honor, I don't believe Mr. Hamilton is disputing the fact that he has those prior felony convictions.
So I will set this one for this look at So, Ms. Yogeski, have you reviewed the pre-sentence report with Mr. Hamilton?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just note for the record that I did attempt to see Mr. Hamilton yesterday at the jail to go over the pre-sentence report with him. At that time, he was not able to visit with me, but this morning he did allow me to read him the parts that he wanted to be read of the pre-sentence report. So he has had an opportunity to review what's in the pre-sentence report. So
Pre-sentence report, let me break it down because you just heard it about 30 times in 10 seconds. It is a report, possibly a pie chart. I don't know what kind of diagram they might have, but it's a point system. All of the crimes he committed in his past and age and gang affiliation, whatever the case is thrown into this geometrical, symmetrical, equivalent equation. And it comes up with how much time he's supposed to get sentenced to. Makes it easy for the judge. Keeps everything at a nice roundabout situation in the courtroom, nice even flow. Can't get angry. This is a chart that's used for everyone. Pre-sentence report, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. But he had an opportunity to read his pre-sentence report, so I'm guessing he probably already knows he's facing life.
We are prepared to proceed with sentencing at this time.
I understand.
Do you have any additions, corrections, or deletions?
Your Honor, with respect to the report itself, in the evaluation and plan on page 1, Mr. Hamilton would just ask the court to make basically a general note that he is still adamantly denying any involvement in the offenses. He understands the court's ruling, however, he still maintains his innocence. If the court could make a note of that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessary to place in the report. It's on the record at this point, and this report obviously was prepared prior to today. So it's on the record today that he is maintaining his innocence.
That damn prosecutor's treacherous, I can already tell. He said, I object. I don't think there's really any relevance of stating that he's innocent today. I mean, he's already said it in the past. No need to say it again today. He's just fighting little things for no reason. Treacherous ass prosecutor.
On the record is sufficient. He had his opportunity to provide defendant's description.
I can't even hear the judge.
I didn't receive any packet of paper or anything.
Well, you've had the opportunity, and as I understand it from the report, you declined the opportunity to participate in the proceedings.
They never called me up.
Them glasses, though.
Your Honor, the Prosecution Department has scored the armed robbery guidelines. I did have a chance to look at those. Mr. Vela also looked at those, and we had a discussion regarding the offense variables.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. Cats like this, just strictly because of his glasses, if he were to come into the cell block, I'd be like, he been to prison about 3 times. And I don't mean no disrespect when I say this, because look, when you walk into the cell block, we judge a book by its cover, and I'm judging right now. This guy's probably going to be the next weed man in D Block, probably living in cell 222. Everybody knows they pump weight out that jank. Please do not go searching D Block cell 22. I'm making it up. It's just a fictional cell, fictional block in my mind that we like to have fun with over here. Anytime someone's hustling, anytime someone's cheeks got taken, anything bad, vicious, done to them in prison. On this channel, it happened in D Block cell 222. And with these glasses, this guy's definitely heading there.
Guidelines. I did have a chance to look at those. Mr. Vela also looked at those, and we had a discussion regarding the offense variables. And I believe that he is going to be requesting 100 points on OV3 instead of 25.
That don't sound good.
And then I'm requesting 0 points on OV12 instead of 5.
That's correct, Your Honor. OV3 should be scored 100 points because a death resulted in this case. In scoring points for an armed robbery, if the death resulted, then 100 points must be scored.
Oh shit, he's going to the extent for those points.
So OV3
Oh.
goes to 100, and then goes to 12.
I have no objection if the court wants to score OV12 at 0.
That's what we're requesting, Your Honor.
So OV12.
So they're debating right now about the score value. She's disputing trying to get less points, and he's saying no, this man deserves all the points and some, and the judge agrees.
Total points will be,
215.
and that's still 6.
OV level 6, the highest that it goes. That's correct.
It does, Your Honor.
Anything for
Highest sentencing is coming
Your
his
Honor,
way.
I would just note that I did score the guidelines on the mutilation charge just because it's not the same grid as the other 2 counts. The armed robbery and the arson are in the same, so they'd have the same guideline range. But the dead body disinterment mutilation charge is a class D, or a grid D, and I believe the guidelines in that would be 38 to 152. So in that, with respect to the recommendation, and we understand that the court doesn't have any leeway with count 1, But we would ask you not to order the court costs and attorney fees due to Mr. Hamilton's inability to pay. With respect to the other counts, I would ask the court, especially in light of the count 1 sentence that he's going to be receiving, that the court go with the bottom of the guidelines for each of those 3 counts, the 270 months on counts 2 and 3 and 38 months on count 5.
The low end is 230 months on 2 of the accounts. So 230 months, but there's like 12 months in a year. 220. I mean, that's like, damn, what, 20 years?
However, prior to that, I would ask that the court hear from the victim in this case.
All right, the victim's about to come and speak. Probably, I think it's the father's son.
I'm doing okay, thank you. I'm sorry? Okay, good, okay. I am not one for histrionics, and even though I'm exploding on the inside, I am going to try to be as calm and measured as I can. And actually, to that end, I've written out my comments so I can stay as close to script as possible. I speak here today.
You can definitely tell he is the son of a professor. I mean, he comes out strong with what? Histrionics? I don't even know what that means, but it's legit.
Not only on my own behalf, but also on behalf of my wife, Christine, my daughter, Annika, my son, Matthew, and the extent that I can to my father, the victim, Robert Sharp, whom I knew better than anyone, save my mother, his wife of 50-plus years, who unfortunately died in April of last year, shortly before the murder. In the days since the verdict was delivered, I've been congratulated multiple times by well-meaning friends for the, quote, win. And though I understand their intent, the term win bothers me to no end. This is not a football game. There is no winning. There's nothing that turns back the hands of time, that brings my father back, that changes the horrible decisions made by Mr. Hamilton on June 10th of 2018. I cannot and will not ever see my father's face again, hear his voice, thank him for his impact on my life or on the lives of my children. That's done. My father is gone, and Mr. Hamilton will be imprisoned for his murder. But given that, from the very first time we received a call informing us of this crime, what my family and I desperately wanted was a thorough and professional police investigation, a fair and open trial vigorously argued by the prosecution and defense, that the evidence presented therein would be carefully and judiciously considered, and at the end of the process, a reasoned and just verdict would be rendered. And we received that, and I am forever grateful to the Ann Arbor Police Department, the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office, the Public Defender's Office, and you, Your Honor.
This man's words are superb. Just absolutely superb.
Long way towards helping us heal, or at least it will as we try to move on in our lives.
Exquisite!
I certainly did not want punishment for punishment's sake, and given all of the evidence I saw at trial, I am now completely convinced that the right person has been convicted of this crime. I also know that we were treated with kindness, dignity, and respect throughout this horrific process, and our lives, and my life in particular, have been touched by that. I am no less certain of the general goodness of humanity than I was before this crime, and that is certainly something Mr. Hamilton couldn't take away from me or my family. Your Honor, this murder...
You can see Mr. Hamilton after he said, you know, I'm completely satisfied with all this. He's shaking his head. I mean, this guy's denying the fact that he did any of this all the way to the very end.
I don't have anything further other than what I requested previously regarding the recommendation. I know that Mr. Hamilton would like to address Your Honor. Do you want him to come to the podium? Or? Okay.
To the family, I didn't kill nobody. All this is circumstantial. Me being in possession of electronics that I bought off somebody else is just that. All elements were not met at all. I've been prosecuted and convicted solely on the premise of my past, subjective opinions, and mere speculation. This case was normally and prematurely bound over without any definitive evidence, lab results, or essential elements being met or presented. I was never placed at the crime scene. There was never any material witness stating I was in the area neighborhood, which I would have been easily recognized and stood out due to the fact that the area is predominantly white people or white older people. There's no black in that area of Ann Arbor. I would easily been stood out, especially walking down the street as I went over the maps that they've prepared it's not no easy way to get to his house. It's a long way. Somebody would have seen me. Night, day, either way. There are multiple cameras at the golf course on Eisenhower, along with cameras in the traffic lights and on people's houses, as was in the reports when the neighborhood was canvassed by William Stanford and Detective Daniel Iverson, along with other people. The circumstantial evidence of me being in possession of stolen property after the fact is just that, possession without any concrete evidence that placed me at the crime scene, since I was biasedly found guilty on circumstantial evidence alone. All the elements were not met, and the prosecutor, John Paul Vella, wildly threw opinions and speculation around his facts, and he blatantly lied about the physical evidence, such as the allegedly bloody clothes that were recovered a few days after I was arrested. But at trial, the prosecutor, John Paul Vella, stated that the clothes were never recovered after statements were given to the news stations that bloody clothing was recovered before they even sent it to the MSP lab. Once they were sent to the lab, everything came back negative for blood, and the results for all biological and physical evidence was never presented at trial. This was all done with malicious intent because everyone's mindset is that if they stated on the news, it's true. Even after they came back and found the results that no blood or nothing was ever found on any clothing taken from my residence, they didn't put that on the news. They didn't correct that or nothing. But yet, that was in the public's or the community's eye. That's why I went with the bench trial. Because the jury doesn't have to go by law. They can go by opinion, bias, or compassion. But you were supposed to make sure that the justice was served. All elements were met. No, all elements were not met. I was never placed at the crime scene.
See, he thought that taking a jury would not have helped him. The peers that they would have picked would have smoked his boots. So he decided to go with the bench trial and let the judge, with her wisdom, come up with the verdict. And he had a lot of faith in her, obviously, if he chose that route. But everything he's saying is true. But just stay tuned till the end, and I will show you the evidence the prosecution brought to the judge for her to make her decision. And for y'all as well to make in the comment section. I need to hear y'all's decision.
At all. It was also stated that I personally knew the victim by the prosecutor numerous times, but this was pure speculation and hearsay and misled multiple, if not numerous people. Me being effectively and incompetently represented, as I informed you, Judge Darlene and O'Brien, numerous times before my final pretrial and at my final pretrial, I was not properly represented, and thus allowing ill-equipped public offenders who represent me to work with the prosecutor instead of against him. Judge Darlene O'Brien, you denied me the right to proper representation because, as you stated, it was too close a trial to adjourn it again, as you did for the prosecutor. The 16th witness, Lenisha Richards, who per your orders was not to be visually or audio recorded, stated that Detective Janelle Hanson told her to do what's best for her daughter when asked about a 3-second call she received from me on 6/10 at 8/12. But due to the fact that on my phone records it showed up as 12/12, due to it being the UTC, misled a whole lot of people. They were not properly analyzed or anything. She was intimidated into making a false statement. Her statement itself conflicted. They asked about what kind of call was it. She said, first she said it was a phone call, then she went to say it was a video call. It conflicted all in itself, but it was then she said we talked about a multitude of things. That was a lie. Because the call only lasted 3 seconds. Which clearly shows determination to use, and the fact that her whole statement was not recorded is very questionable, which I wonder why her statement was the only one that was not recorded. There was a blatant disregard for the law and miscarriage of justice when you, Judge Jolene O'Brien, recused yourself and still presided over this case instead of granting my motion for a change of venue. This case is a sham, and I was prosecuted and convicted on the premise of my past only. This conviction was rigged so that I was to be falsely convicted to appease the public and community in which you, Judge Darlene O'Brien, work, live, and are a part of. I am completely innocent of all charges, and the charges I'm charged with go to show that the judicial system is more corrupt and prejudicially biased than ever before. I was convicted on purely circumstantial evidence that is solely backed by opinions and bias and nothing concrete. This is another example of prosecutors, judges, and public defenders all alike working together to falsely convict people on trumped up and inflated charges so that their careers can skyrocket from neglecting to see the injustices are being done. That's all I just say. To the family, I'm sorry for their loss. I'm sorry for your loss, but I didn't do none of this. All I did, all I'm guilty of is possession of stolen property. As I've stated, I bought it from somebody and he turned up dead at Frog Island. When they were surveilling me the day before I got arrested, after I went and reported, I got back off of the parole bus at the Ypsilanti Transit Center. I went back down to Frog Island, as is in the report, to see if I can find the dude. Now they saying, now it's the prosecutor and William Stafford saying that, oh, I broke into his house 2 other times. Pure speculation and lies. That's all. That's all this case is lies. An attempt to falsely convict me. All the 5 charges I'm being charged with and given a life sentence for, I'm innocent. Only thing I'm guilty of is possession of stolen property, which I should have been charged with from the get-go. That's all I got to say.
My heart goes out to the family and friends of Professor Robert Sharp. From what I learned during this trial, he was a very bright and kindly man. These were particularly heinous crimes where you targeted and victimized Mr. Sharp again and again.
Why?
You're selfish. Nothing can bring back the life that's been lost. But you have proven yourself to be the highest danger to society, and you cannot be trusted with freedom again. On count 1, homicide, felony murder as a habitual offender 4th, I am sentencing you to mandatory life incarceration with the Michigan Department of Corrections without the possibility of parole. That is consecutive to the parole sentence that you were already on. All counts are concurrent, 0 credit. You must pay restitution in the amount of $12,155.65. That gets paid into the...
Alright, so he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and he has to pay all of his court costs. Like I said, his attorney fought for it to be waived, but he's $12,000 in the hole. But his speech was powerful, wasn't it? And you might be wondering to yourself how exactly he got convicted. With no DNA, no fingerprints, no witnesses for the most part. How did this man get convicted? Allow me to break it down for you. Since 2004, Sharp and his wife Maria Sharp would walk to Wendy's on Boardwalk Drive near their home every day for lunch until his wife's death in April 2018. But yet he continued the routine by himself until the night he was killed. Now Hamilton worked at this Wendy's for several months, and given that Sharp's frequent visits, Hamilton probably for sure knew who Sharp was and his routine and how to successfully rob him. The defense's argument, Hamilton's attorney says countless people goes to that Wendy's and there's no indication Sharp had a close relationship with Hamilton. Hamilton only admitted to knowing Sharp due to his daily visits. That's one thing he probably should have never said to the detectives. He should have said, yeah man, people come in there all the time, regulars, but I don't keep track of them like that. Sometime in May 2018, Sharp was eating at that Wendy's. He went to the bathroom and came back to discover his laptop was missing. Employees, many who knew Sharp from his years of coming in there for lunch, tried to help him find the missing laptop, but it was never discovered. Prosecution brought to the judge's attention that Hamilton worked at that Wendy's and knew Sharp sat in that area. That was not covered by surveillance video. The stolen laptop was found with Hamilton when he was arrested in June 27th, 2018. The defense rebuttals and says the date of the theft was never established, so there was no simple way to prove Hamilton was working the day the laptop was stolen. Also, while the spot where Sharp sat may not have been covered with surveillance cameras, nearby areas were surveilled. The defense questioned how Hamilton could have snuck the stolen laptop out of the restaurant unseen by the other cameras. Hamilton having the laptop on him during the arrest only proves he was in possession of the stolen property. In my eyes, it proves that he just set it up. Probably called up one of his little young goons, said, hey, there's a laptop, snag it, homeboy, went in the bathroom. I'm working, you ain't got nothing to worry about. How the hell else would he just magically wind up with the dude's laptop that comes to the Wendy's he works at on a regular basis? So later on, Sharp bought a new laptop to replace the one that went missing at Wendy's and used it to FaceTime his son in New York the evening of the killing. Prosecution brought to the judge that the receipt for the new laptop and the FaceTime conversation with his son showed that Sharp had the laptop hours before he was slain. The laptop was missing from the crime scene and was later spotted on surveillance video the morning after the murder with Hamilton at the Apple Store and Briarwood Mall while he went to have the hard drive wiped. The laptop was with Hamilton when he was arrested. The defense rebuttals with possession of the laptop does not show Hamilton killed Sharp for it. The defense argued Hamilton acting as a fence for stolen property was just as valid a theory for how he got the laptop as anything else. So, I mean, just based upon that little bit of evidence I brought y'all's way, what do y'all think? I mean, yeah, he was found with all the guys' stolen shit on multiple occasions, but still, it doesn't fully prove that he actually murdered the individual. It doesn't, but at the same time, you can almost guarantee he had something to do with it. If I were to guess, this guy just set it up. But let me know in the comments section below, ladies and gentlemen, y'all's thoughts and opinions on this case. But if y'all enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. Check out all the links in the description of the video. Add me up on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. And as always, I salute every last one who's been supporting me since the beginning. And everybody who's just now joining the lockdown compound. Y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.